Once upon a time, in the village of Okudike, there lived a man named Ifeanyi, who had a beautiful woman named Ada. Together, they both had two daughters. The first, Chidima, while the second, Amara. They were a happy family. After a long time, Ada became ill and she died. Ifeanyi and his daughters cried for a long time and they became sad. After a while, Ifeanyi thought within himself, I can't cook. I can't even fetch water from the river. I need a wife, and my children need a mother, he said within himself. So, he began to look for a wife. Soon, he found one named Ogechi. Ogechi was a young and beautiful woman, and Ifeanyi fell in love with her. Please marry me, be my wife, and be the mother of my children, he said. Ogechi frowned and said, I want to be your wife, but I don't want to look after your children. Send them away, then I will marry you, she said. Ifeanyi, who was confused and also in love, said within himself, I don't think I can live without this woman. I will hide my children. Maybe she will soon come to love them someday, he said within himself. Very well, I will send my daughters away, he said. Okay, then I will marry you, Ogechi said. Later that day, Ifeanyi went home and told his children, I will be getting married soon, and my new wife does not like children. So, I will hide you in the grey store. Don't worry, she will feed you, he told them. The children obeyed their father, and they hid themselves in the grey store. After the marriage, Ogechi came home happily. Then Ifeanyi told her, my father and his ancestors lives in the grey house. The spirits are always hungry. So, I want you to feed them in the morning, in the midday, and in the evening. Okay? That won't be a problem, my love. I will do as you command, Ogechi replied. So, every day, Ogechi always takes food to the grey house, morning, midday, and in the evening. She did this for a long time, until one day, Ogechi went to a hairdresser to make her hair. After a while, Ogechi said, please be fast. It's midday already. I have to rush home to make food for my husband's ancestors, he said. The hairdresser laughed. Husband's ancestors indeed. Do you know you have been feeding your husband's children for a long time, she said. Your husband's children hid in the grey house, not your husband's ancestors. Your husband lied to you, she continued. What? Ogechi, who was shocked, turned and looked at the hairdresser. You mean my husband tricked me? God! Then I will run home and burn down the grey house down, she screamed. Before Ogechi could finish her hair, the hairdresser's son, who was Chidima's friend, ran down to the grey house and informed Chidima of Ogechi's plan. And the children ran into the forest. Later the day, when Ogechi got home, she set the grey house on fire, thinking the children would die. Later that day, in the evening, Ifeanyi came home and met his hungry wife waiting for him. "You tricked me," she said. "You evil man. You told me your ancestors live in the grey house, not knowing I have been feeding your children all this while," she screamed. Then Ifeanyi ran down to the grey house and he discovered it is burnt to the ground. He screamed, "My children! Woman, what have you done? You must pay for this," he said angrily, and he dragged Ogechi all through the village to the chief's house. Getting there, Ifeanyi explained everything that happened, and people joined him and dragged Ogechi to the Igwe's palace. Unknown to Ifeanyi that the children were seen by a chief in the forest and were taken to the Igwe's palace. The Igwe then presented Ifeanyi's children to Ifeanyi and then banished Ogechi out of the village, telling her never to set foot into the village ever again in her life. Then Ifeanyi unites with his children and they lived happily ever after. Hope you enjoyed the story. Now you know, in this life, wickedness will always pay. So try as much as possible to be a good person. And remember, even the good deeds you do will also still pay. So be nice and kind to everyone that comes your way.